In a world overflowing with noise, distractions, and constant digital interruptions, mastering your mind is no longer a luxury. It's a necessity. How to master your mind in a distracted world is a powerful reminder that clarity, focus, and inner peace are within reach, even in the chaos of modern life. This motivational speech will help you regain control of your attention, break free from mental clutter, and cultivate deep discipline. Whether you're battling procrastination, overthinking, or emotional overwhelm, this message will guide you back to your center. It's time to take charge of your thoughts and own your mindset. We are living in the most connected time in human history, and yet we are more disconnected than ever. Not from each other, but from ourselves. Every ping, every notification, every scroll is fighting for our attention, and we give it away freely without realizing the cost. Our mind, the very core of who we are, becomes fractured, distracted, unfocused, reactionary. Mastering your mind is not about being perfect. It's about being intentional. It begins with asking a simple question. Who is in control, me or the noise? Most people wake up and immediately check their phones. They let the world dictate how they feel before they've even taken a deep breath. If your mind is a garden, then social media, breaking news, and endless opinions are weeds. And unless you take responsibility for what grows there, chaos will take root. Discipline isn't glamorous, but it's freedom. When you can say no to the trivial, you make space for what matters. You quote, when you choose stillness over stimulation, clarity follows. We think multitasking makes us productive, but it only makes us scattered. Focus is a superpower now, and like all powers, it must be trained. It's not about cutting off the world, it's about creating boundaries. It's about deciding what gets your attention instead of giving it away on demand. And the truth is, the more you know yourself, the less the noise can control you. Your mind will always be busy, but you can choose what it's busy with. Start with 5 minutes of silence each morning. Build focus like a muscle. Stop reacting and start responding. Learn to listen to your thoughts instead of drowning them. Awareness is the first step to mastering your mind in a distracted world. Without awareness, you operate on autopilot, responding to every beep, buzz, and scream without realizing how deeply it shapes your thinking, mood, and energy. Most people don't even notice how addicted they are to distraction. They think they're just staying connected, staying informed, or multitasking efficiently. But in reality, they're surrendering their most valuable asset, attention, without a fight. And you can't fix what you're not aware of. That's why the very first and most powerful shift begins not with action, but with attention to your attention. The truth is, distraction isn't just a result of the world around you. It's a reflection of what's going on within. If your mind is cluttered, scattered, anxious, or restless, the world will always find a way to feed that chaos. But if you pause for even a moment and truly notice the pattern, everything starts to change. Awareness allows you to see how much control you've handed over, often, without question. Without question. You begin to see how often you reach for your phone when you're bored, stressed, or uncertain. You notice how a single notification can shift your mood. You catch the moments where you check out of conversations, where your body is present, but your mind is elsewhere. This kind of self-awareness is not judgmental. It's observant. It says, let me see what's happening here, rather than I'm doing it wrong. And that subtle difference is everything. It creates space between stimulus and response. It gives you the power to choose how you engage with the world, instead of being constantly pulled and pushed by it. Practicing awareness is not about adding one more task to your to-do list. It's about slowing down enough to notice. Notice the tension in your shoulders when you're overwhelmed. Notice how quickly your attention shifts when you're trying to focus. Notice how your emotions change depending on what you consume online or offline. The more you notice, the more choice you gain. And the more choice you have, the less control the outside world has over you. This awareness can start with something as simple as asking yourself throughout the day, where is my attention right now? That one question can pull you out of distraction and into the present moment. Over time, you'll begin to sense when your mind is scattered, when your energy is leaking, when your thoughts are spiraling, and you'll be able to redirect, not perfectly, but intentionally. Awareness is the anchor that keeps you from drifting. It's not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you are beneath the noise. You already have the ability to focus, to think clearly, to be present. Distraction only clouds it. Awareness clears the fog and brings you back to yourself. That's where the journey begins. Your mind is a garden, and everything you allow into it, every thought, every word, every image, plants a seed. Some seeds grow into strength, clarity, peace, and purpose. Others grow into anxiety, anger, insecurity, and confusion. The difference lies in what you choose to water. If you don't intentionally tend to your mental garden, weeds will grow on their own, and they will grow fast. Every moment you scroll through negativity, compare yourself to others, or absorb opinions that don't align with your values, you're planting weeds. These are not harmless distractions. They grow quietly, slowly wrapping around your thinking, influencing how you see the world and how you see yourself. You begin to feel restless, uncertain, emotionally drained, but you can't quite trace where it started. That's because it started with what you fed your mind, often unconsciously. Most people treat their minds like public property, open to anyone, anytime. Notifications ring all day. News updates flood their screen. Unfiltered opinions fill their timelines. And without realizing it, they start to believe those voices more than their own. They allow the loudest voice to shape their beliefs and drown out their instincts. But a healthy garden is never left unprotected. It is guarded, nurtured, and treated with care. You cannot control everything the world throws at you, but you can control what you let in. And what you let in will either nourish your strength or deplete it. You have to start choosing your inputs with the same care you choose your food. If junk goes in, junk will grow. If peace goes in, peace will grow. Being intentional about what you consume isn't about avoiding the world. It's about choosing which parts of it are worth your energy. Read things that challenge you, but also build you. Watch content that inspires you rather than drains you. Hey, speak to people who uplift, not just those who agree. You are the gatekeeper of your own garden, and every choice matters. This doesn't mean you'll never face doubt or distractions again. Even the best gardens face storms. But with strong roots and clear intention, your mind can recover, adapt, and continue growing. It becomes easier to recognize when negativity tries to creep in. And you'll learn to remove it before it takes over. You'll become more selective, not out of fear, but out of respect for your own peace. Your thoughts shape your direction. Your mindset shapes your reality. And just like any garden, beauty doesn't happen by accident. It's cultivated, tended, protected. The moment you begin to treat your mind as something sacred, something worthy of attention and care, is the moment everything begins to shift. A focused mind, a clear mind, a strong mind. It doesn't grow in chaos. It grows in intention. And it starts with what you plant. Discipline creates freedom. Discipline creates freedom. It may sound like a contradiction, but it's one of the deepest truths about personal growth and mental mastery. In a world that constantly promotes instant gratification, convenience, and ease, the idea of discipline can feel restrictive. Lows? But what seems like restriction in the short term actually becomes liberation in the long term. When you practice discipline, you're not chaining yourself. You're setting yourself free. Without discipline, your life is ruled by impulse. You do what feels good in the moment, even if it takes you further from what truly matters. You say yes to distractions, give in to procrastination, and avoid the discomfort that comes with growth. Over time, this lack of structure doesn't make life easier. It makes it harder. It makes it harder. You lose control over your time, your habits, and eventually, your mind. And in that loss of control, you start feeling overwhelmed, unfocused, and stuck. Discipline is not about punishment or perfection. It's about choosing what matters most over what feels good right now. It's about aligning your actions with your values, even when it's difficult. It's the quiet, consistent commitment to doing what you said you'd do, especially when motivation disappears. And it always disappears. Freedom isn't doing whatever you want, whenever you want. True freedom is having the clarity and control to direct your life with intention. It's the power to say no to what doesn't serve you, so you can say yes to what does. When you build the discipline to wake up early, to stay focused, to resist distractions, to say no to the easy way out, you build trust with yourself. And that trust is freedom. With discipline, you create space in your day, not just noise. You stop chasing every impulse and start moving with purpose. Or so. You become more productive not because you're working more, but because you're wasting less. You start experiencing peace because your habits are no longer chaotic. You realize that every disciplined choice, every workout, every moment of focused work, every time you keep a promise to yourself, becomes a brick in the foundation of your future. The beauty of discipline is that it builds momentum. What feels hard at first eventually becomes who you are. The effort to stay focused becomes natural. The choice to say no becomes empowering. And what once looked like sacrifice begins to feel like alignment. Most people wait for motivation to act. But the disciplined person understands that action comes first, and motivation follows. They show up when it's boring, when it's hard, when it's inconvenient. And over time, they gain something far more valuable than temporary comfort. They gain self-respect, confidence, and freedom. You can't control everything in life, but you can control your habits. You can control your choices. And when you do that consistently, discipline becomes the key that unlocks the life you've been chasing. Not by force, but by design. Silence unlocks answers. In a world that never stops talking, where opinions, updates, and alerts bombard us by the second, silence has become rare, almost uncomfortable. We fill every gap with noise, every pause with a scroll, and every quiet moment with distraction. The most powerful insights often come not in the noise, but in the stillness. When you turn down the volume of the world, you begin to hear yourself clearly. Silence isn't just the absence of sound, it's the presence of awareness. It's the space where your thoughts can settle, your emotions can rise to the surface, and your true voice can speak. Most people are afraid of silence because they don't know what they'll find when there's nothing left to distract them. But that's exactly where growth begins. Silence reveals what noise tries to cover up. We're conditioned to believe that solutions come from doing more, searching more, talking more, trying more. But often the more we do, the more overwhelmed we become. In silence, you don't add anything, you strip things away. You allow yourself to sit with the problem, not run from it. And in that stillness, clarity often appears without force. Answers emerge not because you chase them, but because you create the space for them to show up. In silence, you meet yourself. Begin to notice your thoughts. Not just hear them, but understand them. You catch the stories you've been telling yourself, the patterns you've been repeating, the fears that have gone unspoken. This self-awareness is powerful, not because it changes everything at once, but because it gives you the truth. And once you have the truth, you can move forward with direction instead of confusion. Silence also strengthens focus. When you practice sitting in quiet, even for a few minutes a day, you train your mind to be still, to listen, to reset. It becomes easier to resist distractions because you've learned to be present without stimulation. You no longer need noise to fill the void. You become more grounded, more aware, and more intentional. Some of the most important decisions you will ever make will come to you in moments of silence. Not because the world told you what to do, but because you finally gave yourself permission to listen. Whether it's 5 minutes in the morning or a quiet walk without your phone, these moments become powerful acts of alignment. Silence is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's a tool used by the strong, the grounded, the self-aware. It teaches you to respond instead of react, to observe instead of absorb, and to create instead of consume. The world will keep shouting. It will keep pulling. But when you learn to value silence, you stop being controlled by the noise. You begin to lead your life from the inside out. Tanad. You begin to access the answers that were always within you, waiting patiently beneath the surface for a moment of quiet. Focus is a superpower in a world that thrives on distraction. Everywhere you look, something is trying to steal your attention. Notifications, breaking news, endless scrolling, constant demands. It's not just noise, it's a system designed to keep you unfocused. That's why the ability to concentrate, To fully immerse yourself in one task, one thought, or one goal has become one of the rarest and most valuable strengths you can develop. Focus isn't just about productivity. It's about presence. When you focus, you give your full energy to the moment. You aren't scattered across 10 different tabs in your mind. You're here now with intention. That kind of presence doesn't just help you work better. It helps you live better. It strengthens your relationships, deepens your learning, and connects you to your purpose. It keeps you from floating aimlessly through your days and allows you to build something meaningful with your time. But focus doesn't happen by accident. It requires effort. It requires boundaries. You have to train your mind the way an athlete trains their body, consistently, patiently, with discipline. It starts with eliminating the small distractions, the constant switching between tasks, the habit of multitasking that feels productive but fragments your thinking. Every time you protect your focus, you protect your potential. You don't need to be superhuman to master focus. You need to be intentional. You need to create environments that support your attention rather than drain it. Turn off the noise. Put your phone out of sight. Set time blocks for deep work and give your full energy to that one thing. Over time, your ability to focus sharpens. Your mental endurance grows. Even what once seemed difficult becomes natural. The most successful people in any field are not necessarily the smartest. They're the most focused. They've learned how to drown out the unimportant and lock in on what matters. They don't allow urgency to override importance. They protect their mental space like it's sacred, because it is. What you focus on shapes your thoughts, your actions, and your future. And if you don't choose your focus, the world will choose it for you. In moments of focus, you become powerful. You access clarity that distraction hides. You move with direction instead of reaction. You make decisions that align with your values, not just your impulses. Focus gives you control in a chaotic world, and that control breeds confidence. It's easy to follow the noise, to chase every shiny thing, to stay busy without ever being effective. But when you train yourself to focus, you step into a rare kind of strength, the ability to guide your own mind. You stop being pulled and start being purposeful. That's why focus isn't just a habit. It's a superpower. And in today's world, it's one of the most important ones you can claim. Set boundaries to reclaim your mind, because without them, you will be at the mercy of everything and everyone around you. In a world constantly demanding your time, energy, and attention, boundaries are not just useful, they are essential. Every notification, request, expectation, and opinion can enter your mental space if you don't draw the line. And once your attention is divided and scattered, so is your clarity. The ability to think clearly, create deeply, and rest fully starts with protecting your mental space. Boundaries are not walls, they are doors. You decide what comes in and what stays out. When you set boundaries, you aren't shutting the world out. You're deciding what deserves a seat at your table. Not every voice, message, or expectation is worth your energy. And the longer you live without boundaries, the more you find yourself running on empty, constantly responding to the world instead of creating your own pace. Most people think boundaries are about saying no to others. In truth, they're about saying yes to yourself. When you guard your time, you're saying yes to focus. When you limit your exposure to negativity, you're saying yes to peace. When you log off to be present, you're saying yes to your values. Boundaries are the invisible structure behind every strong mind. They make space for intention. They allow you to live by design, not default. You don't owe access to anyone who drains your energy. You don't need to explain your silence to people who don't value your presence. And you don't have to be constantly available to be worthy or loved. Boundaries teach the world how to treat you, but more importantly, they teach you how to treat yourself. They are a sign of self-respect, not selfishness. Reclaiming your mind starts with small, powerful decisions. Stop checking your phone the moment you wake up. Block off quiet time every day where no one can reach you. Decline meetings or conversations that serve no purpose. Limit your exposure to content that triggers stress or comparison. These aren't big changes. They're small shifts that create a massive difference in how you feel, think, and operate. Boundaries also protect your energy from emotional noise. Not every argument is yours to join. Not every opinion is yours to absorb. And not every crisis is yours to solve. You are not responsible for carrying the mental load of the world. You are responsible for staying grounded, clear, and aligned with what truly matters to you. Living without boundaries leads to burnout, resentment, and a mind that feels like it's constantly under siege. But when you begin to protect your mental space, you regain clarity. You begin to think for yourself again. You begin to feel like yourself again. You move from reaction to intention. And with every line you draw, you take back a piece of your peace, your power, and your purpose. Boundaries aren't barriers. They're bridges to a better, more focused life. So in a world that constantly pulls you in every direction, the real power lies in pulling yourself inward. Mastering your mind isn't about controlling every thought. It's about choosing which ones deserve your energy. But it's about creating space for clarity, building discipline, setting boundaries, and protecting your focus like it's sacred. Because it is. Your attention is your life. And when you reclaim it, when you stop reacting and start responding, you don't just survive the chaos, you rise above it. The world may stay noisy, but your mind doesn't have to. Choose stillness. Choose intention. Choose to lead from within. In a world that never stops shouting, your greatest strength is the ability to be still, to focus, and to think for yourself. Mastering your mind means no longer being ruled by distractions, but guided by purpose. It means protecting your peace, setting boundaries, and living intentionally. The noise will always be there, but it doesn't have to own you. Every moment you choose silence, discipline, and clarity, you reclaim your power. So don't just let life happen to you. Lead it with presence. Lead it with strength. Because the mind you master today shapes the life you live tomorrow.